Welcome to Interpersonal Communication, the semester break class. I am Professor Kristen Ruppert-Leach, and I'll be your instructor for the next 6 weeks. This orientation is meant to give you an overview of what to expect in this particular course. If you have taken courses at SWIC before, you have noticed that there are 8-week courses in the summer, and then there are 16 and almost 17-week courses in the fall and spring. This course is only 6 weeks. However, the content, the amount of required work is very much the same as a 16-week or a 17-week course. So I would recommend maybe not taking more than one of these at a time because it is a lot of work in a very condensed period of time. Hopefully this orientation will give you an overview of what to look for and how it all works. So at the front page here, when you open up the screen in Blackboard, you're going to see a few things. Right here is the announcements section, in which I will provide you either a text-based announcement or an audio announcement. Many times I record my announcements via audio and then I will post them there as well as send you an email. That will probably be my method, but there may be times when a text-based version of the announcement will be available as well. You also have some other tools here if you want them, a task list and a report card. That's your call. If you look over on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see a few buttons. We'll start with the Syllabus button. Within the Syllabus button, you have the syllabus for our course as well as a schedule that gives you a breakdown of each week. Let's start with the Syllabus button. You're going to pull this up and see a PDF document, and if you use a smartphone or a tablet or anything similar, you can get the Blackboard Mobile Learn app, and that will allow you to read material like this, watch videos and such via your mobile device, as opposed to having to have a desktop or a laptop available at all times. So this is the syllabus. If you'll notice, I have my office number and phone number here. This is a semester break class, so I'm obviously not going to be here during this time. So I would recommend emailing me as much as possible. And if you would prefer to speak over the phone or to contact me via FaceTime or Google Hangouts or something like that, then go ahead and shoot me an email requesting an appointment and we will make that happen. But otherwise, just contact me via email and I respond within 24 hours or much less in most cases. Now, the course in general is an overview of communication experiences that happen between two people. We call this interpersonal communication. So we look at things like verbal and nonverbal communication, language process, social consequences for negative self-disclosure and things like that, conflict resolution, relationships and their maintenance and or termination, and more. So there's a lot of content here, but it's all very practical content that can be useful to you not only in your careers, but also within your personal relationships. And this is something that has become more and more of a major component that employers are looking for, is strong interpersonal skills. So hopefully this will be of value to you in a number of ways. A couple other things to keep in mind is that there is a prerequisite, but granted, barring that, since you're already in the course, the next thing you want to look at is the textbook for the course. You do need it. It is something that is used a lot, so I would highly recommend you get it. Where you get it from is your call, but you will need the textbook, and the most current edition would be preferable. In addition to that, we have a couple of notes about the course in general. It is an online course, so all of your content is online. You will never have to come to campus to do anything. Here are the course objectives for our 6 weeks. If you look at those, you can kind of see what the point is for the semester. And then let's talk a little bit about assignments. One of the major assignments that you have is a regular discussion post. And if you've taken online classes before, you know this is a pretty common practice. The discussion post is going to occur between weeks 1 through 5. So week 6 there will be one, but it's not a graded one. So weeks 1 through 5 you will need to respond to a question that I pose to you. That response should be considered almost like a mini paper. not a very brief response. You need to give me a lot of detail in this. You'll discuss the concept that I am bringing up for that week. Then you will give me material from your own experiences, either personal or professional life, and apply that to the concept. And you will make sure to include research. Now the research, just relax, the research is what you read in your textbook or watched in lecture. If you want to do research outside of that, you're more than welcome to, but all I am asking for is what you read in the lecture material or what you watched on my videos. And then you can cite that within the initial post. And I'll give you more instructions on that for the first week. Each of these are worth 20 points for a total of 100, which is a pretty significant chunk of your grade. So make sure you're really focusing on good, strong initial posts. And I also ask you to respond to your classmates at least twice each week. So you'll need 2 response posts that are decently substantial, not like the initial, but still strong, and then 1 real strong initial post. The next thing is tests or quizzes, if you want to title them that. The tests are 3 different setups. First is the simple tests. They are multiple choice and true false. Actually, all of them are multiple choice and true false. You won't ever have essay or fill in the blank or anything like that. Tests 1 through 5 occur throughout the semester, and you can take them twice. So there's different questions each time, although some may repeat. You can take the test twice and the highest grade prevails. That's worth 100 points, all of those tests combined, so it's 20 points for each test. But then we also have a midterm and a final. The midterm and a final is 50 questions at 2 points apiece, so they're each worth 100 points, and you can only take them once. So that's something you want to set aside time for, and you are more than welcome to use your textbook for it. It's not a requirement that you have no textbook or no material by you. I'm completely okay with that. Now the next thing that you have, so this is worth 300 points, the next thing that you have is the communication project. And the communication project is basically where you select a person that you feel you could enhance your communication with. It doesn't have to be somebody that you're in conflict with, that it's a bad relationship, but it does need to be someone that you want to improve your communication patterns with. So pick someone that is important to you, is basically what I'm saying. The project itself is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is due first, obviously, and this begins in week 3. It's the second half of term. So in week 3, you will be required to submit a foundation sheet, which gives me a background of your chosen interviewee, and then a list of interview questions. That's at least 10 open-ended questions that you are going to ask your interviewee about your relationship with that person. And there's much more detail provided to you about this in the lecture material. The second part to the assignment is after you complete the first part and you write the questions, then you actually conduct the interview. And for this one, I want you to tell me what the question is, the goal that you were trying to achieve by asking that question, the answer to the question as detailed as possible, and then nonverbals that you saw. So body language, eye contact, tone of voice, all of those things. The third part of the assignment is the summary. This is basically an overview of the whole process. So you're going to answer a series of questions. These questions right here. Were the majority of your goals met? How did the relationship change with this person? And what have you learned regarding your communication style before and after taking this class? So it's going to give you an opportunity to reflect on the process. Also, I do have participation requirements. I don't have a specific amount of times you need to log in, although I do recommend you log in at least 3 or 4 times a week. But in a class like this, where it's 6 weeks long, you may need to log in more than that. The drop policy is as such, although I am not usually one to drop in a 6-week because of the nature of the course. You need to drop yourself. That is important. If you feel like you need to be dropped, you need to drop yourself. Also, a note from me is that I usually grade fairly quickly. I will respond to you ASAP, and I will get your grades to you within 24 to 48 hours for feedback on questions, and then within 5 days of an assignment being due, but probably well before that. Also, there are some lists here of other policies that you may want to take into account. The grades are sort of set up here at the bottom. There's a total of 530 points. And then anything else you may need to take a look at in terms of academic integrity or rigor, weather issues, although that doesn't really apply to us, and such. So let me show you now the next piece in the syllabus tab, which is the course schedule. Now the course schedule is also a PDF document, and it breaks out each week like you see here. It tells you what the topics are for the week, because you will have multiple topics every week due to the crunched nature of this course. And then it gives you the overview of each one of the readings and assignments, and then what their due dates are. So for example, on week 1 you have lectures and chapters 1, 2, and 3 to read and watch. I do video record my lectures, so you can just listen to me. You don't have to read it as much, but then you will need to go back and read the chapters. The assignments for this week laid here: discussion number 1, initial post and response posts, and test 1. And these are all due by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday nights. Now you will notice that in some cases there are holidays around, so the dates may differ, but you will always be aware of that on the weekly layout. So use this as kind of an overview of what's to be expected each week. And that should provide you with a good start to the semester in terms of knowing what to expect. I always like to write these things down in a calendar, or I use a digital calendar, and I'll type them into each of my weeks for my digital calendar. Now over here also on the left underneath the syllabus tab is the course information tab. That gives you a little bit about me, contact information, my overall background information, personal and professional. And then office hours. I do have virtual office hours, but honestly, just email me and you'll get to me at pretty much any time. I also have some tips for you here in terms of being successful in an online class. I have 10 years or more teaching online, and so I have a lot of experience, and I want to make sure you're successful. So keep those in mind when you're considering how you communicate in an online context. I also require that you cite material. If you remember, I mentioned that you cite material in your initial posts. That is done in APA format, and I've provided an APA example and a basic overview, but you can Google that as well. It's pretty straightforward. So that's the course information tab. You do have access to the discussion board here, but let me go here to this weekly material, and that's where we'll spend the remainder of our time together. Now the weekly material tab is something that is where you're going to end up spending the majority of your time. Again, the course schedule is here, so when you're ready to look at it and see exactly what's due each week, it's posted as well here as well as it was back in the syllabus tab. And then you have 2 folders, the first half and the second half. The first half is focused purely on tests and discussions and readings and videos, and the second half incorporates your communication project. So that's kind of how it's broken up. But each week is very similar in its layout. For example, in the first half you'll see each week has its own folder with the exact dates that that week persists in. So for example, if we go into week 1, there is a list of everything that is required for that week. So if you check agenda for week 1, it tells you what you will learn from this week, all the readings and videos that you need to complete, any discussions you might need to do, and any additional assignments that are required for that week. Then you can go back, and in each of these where you see this little earth symbol and a paper, that means it's on a website, it's a link. So all of the ones that say lecture 1, lecture 2, lecture 3, and so on, those are my video lectures. So let me show you kind of how this looks. You would click on it and it'll pull it up right here. And you can sort of hear, and I'll bring up the volume a little bit.
As black coffee, and just as hard to sleep after.
Okay, so you will be able to use the app that you have if you use YouTube, or if you've got a mobile device, or if you're on a regular computer, you can use that to go through all of this without any major issues. So you should have connections to each of the lectures you need, and also a text version of each of those lectures. So you can see the same basic concepts here, but only in writing, if that's your cup of tea, if that's more your preference. There's also PowerPoints for chapters, so it sort of summarizes the chapters. They're not the best, but they are there if you would like that. For this week in particular, I've given you some tips on taking quizzes on Blackboard, because sometimes that can be frustrating. And then you have your discussion posts for each week. When you're ready to complete it, you click on it, and it'll take you to the discussion. Click on My Question, which will just have my name here. Click on My Question, read the question, and make sure you type up your response. When you're ready to put the response in, click Create Thread, and then if you scroll down, you'll have a text box where you can include your response, and you can give it a subject. Then you'll click Submit, and it will come up here and look just like this. And then I'll be able to grade it. When you're ready to respond to people, not necessarily me, but responding to other students, when you read their post here, then you just click Reply, and then stick your little cursor in that area, and you're able to type up your reply and click Submit. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how to do the discussion posts for each week. Let's go back to the weekly material. So we were in week 1 and we looked at week 1 forum. In addition, there are other resources. Sometimes they're real fun resources. Sometimes they're just extra information. For example, this is like an attachment style self-test to see what your attachment style is. A little bit more about self and why communication matters. So there's kind of interesting things there that might be of value to you if you would like to check it out. Also, the tests are available within each week. So when you're ready, you click on the test, and it will tell you the instructions for the test. You click Begin, and you're able to get going right away. Like I said, you can take most of these twice, except for the midterm and the final exam. So each week looks virtually identical. You can kind of see there's a lot of lectures in this one. It kind of happens that way. And there are agendas for each particular section that you're in. Now, if you go back to the second half, the only thing I wanted to show you that would be different here is the assignments. So for example, under week 4, you have that communication project starting, and down here is the part 1, foundation sheet and questions list. When you're ready, you can open these and fill them in for that assignment, and then when you're ready, you click on part 1, and it's going to show you when it's due, as well as where you can upload it. So you attach file, browse my computer, and you can upload what you want. And then just click Submit and you'll be good to go. So that's sort of how the course works. I am a stickler for getting things done on time and for communicating with respect, and also giving thoughtful responses, meaning using the research, using my lecture material, using what you read in the textbook to support what you have to say. Those are my big sticklers. So if you could keep that in mind, that would be fantastic. If you have any questions or need any additional help from me, I am more than happy to meet via virtual, so FaceTime or Google Hangouts or Skype or something else along those lines. So hopefully that gives you a good start to the course. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. Bye.